Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Orange Zone. I'm your host, Jackson Schock, alongside Sophie Starkey, Luca Tal, and Luke Lamery. We've got a lot of football to discuss, so let's jump right in. Now, the Volunteers had a bye last week, and they enjoyed moving up from the 5 spot to the 4 spot, doing nothing. Thanks, Alabama. It's the only time we're going to say that on this show. So, that's great and all, but it's time to get back to real football. So let's take a look at who our next opponent, Arkansas, took on last week, and that would be the Texas A&M Aggies. The game was played in Arlington, Texas, inside AT&T Stadium for the Southwest Classic, the last time that's going to be played until it's moved to SEC campuses. Arkansas starts with possession. Quarterback Talon Green weaves around the defenders as the pocket collapses, and he bombs it to Isaac Tesla. And let me tell you, Lukes, he slid into the end zone. Come on.
Good one, pal.
Anyways, it's A&M's turn, and redshirt freshman quarterback Marcel Reed, watch this, just missed. Noah Thomas makes him miss, takes it into the end zone, throws up the deuce. We got a tie game, 7-7. So, Arkansas with possession in the red zone. They feed Jaquindon Jackson the ball, and he's just going to his way into the end zone. 14-7, Arkansas. We got a game here. So, it's Arkansas again, but they fumble. A&M's able to grab possession, and we're about to do a little deja vu of what we just saw. So, A&M sending someone in motion, but you know what? He's like, anything you can do, I can do better. Watch this. Runs it into the end zone. That is a touchdown. So, one field goal later, Aggies in scoring position. They find the end zone again. They go in and take the lead. So, A&M didn't lead in any stat besides the run, and this is why. I mean, look at this. He has to heave him down by his face mask, and he still stands up and says, "Little boy." Nothing. But let's get back to real life. Arkansas needing a touchdown, scrambles out right, Green does, but he gets sacked, and the ball is loose. It squirts around. A&M's able to land on it, and they gain possession. All they need to do is get a first down, and they win this. So let's see if they do. The Hogs use all their remaining timeouts. A&M, just too good. Like I said, that run game is what got them there today. They end up winning. Let's take a look at the stats after this game. So, like I said, Arkansas 17, Texas A&M 21. If you look at the red, though, Arkansas won in every major stat besides rushing yards, and they only lost it by 34 yards. I mean, average yards, sure, it was only 0.3 different, but that looks like Arkansas should have won this game despite not doing so. So as we kind of come back in, you look at that stat sheet, you look at everything. How does that make you feel going forward, Luke?
Well, I'll tell you what, they came out strong with a pass from Green to Tesla. That was awesome. After that, I didn't see a whole lot that impressed me at all, to be honest with you. There was not a lot at all that I was stunned with at all. And I'll tell you this, they're a second-half team. They're not a second-half team. They completely collapsed second half, and they've done it in past games. They did it again. They got lucky that really Texas A&M didn't run away with it. Sure, you can look at the yardage and say, wow, they're leading in all these categories, but it's sloppy stuff. 4 fumbles, they lost 2. The line started to collapse. Look, Talon Green has to roll out of the pocket. What does he do when he rolls out of the pocket? He throws an interception. Okay, so the line's collapsing. Their penalty yard is awful. 75 penalty yards is a big number for a game that close. So what I'm going to tell you right now is that I think there's a lot of sloppy stuff, and if they can work it out, sure, it's going to be a contest, but, I mean, if they don't, I mean, the Volunteers are going to run away with it.
So if you talk to me, where's your confidence level as the Vols head into Arkansas this weekend?
Fairly high. Like, I don't want to count anyone out for any reason. I'm going to say that every week. It's an away game. They've got a 77.4% winning rate at home, and their strengths are basically in 2 things. Jaquindon Jackson, by far their best player. He leads the SEC in rushing. If the offensive line can make room for him, he's going to make a play. Given they have not, and by any means, faced a defensive line like ours, so I think that's really going to shock them there. But quarterback Talon Green, Josh Heupel said this week he's probably the most mobile and dynamic player that we have faced yet. I agree with that as far as who we faced, but I don't think it's going to be a problem for us. Their team's fairly good at third down conversions, and history speaking, our track record with Arkansas isn't great. We're 0-3 since 2007, but given that's been years, I'm fairly confident that we're going to run away with this one, but I don't like to say, oh, we're going to win for sure because, we don't want that bad Tennessee luck to get us, but I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, knock on wood. Let's kind of go into a, scouting report. We did a little research here, so you guys don't have to, because who would know anything about Arkansas when they're not very good? Not to say you don't watch good football regardless. I can get into it. So I want to talk about specifically Talon Green because he's a solid player. Now, his issue is throwing the ball, which I'd say as a quarterback makes you kind of susceptible to criticism. However, this guy is elusive. So 3 years at Boise State, that's where he comes from before transferring into Arkansas. He was a starter for 2 at Boise State. Now, he's got the keys to a major an SEC offense, but he's mobile. He's really mobile. Now, I had the opportunity. I was in Auburn 2 weeks ago when Arkansas played Auburn, and let me tell you, Auburn is not a good team by any stretch of the imagination. I'm sorry, anybody that's watching this that goes to Auburn, all 0 of you. But when you look at that team and you watch Green just kind of run around every single time, and I wouldn't say Auburn has the most fantastic defensive line in the SEC by any means, and certainly not up to par with Tennessee, but every single time he had to escape, he would roll right, he would roll left. Now, unfortunately, in that Auburn game, he would just heave it up and somehow he'd find a wide open receiver out in the end zone. So if Tennessee wants to win this game, they've got to let their front four do their front four things, go straight and attack. And he's going to escape. And if he does escape, we want to trust our corners and make sure that they can do a good job of kind of just holding a base while Green kind of runs around. And that's kind of the scoop on Taylon Green. But let's move into our skill players. Luke, I know you're kind of excited to talk about.
Well, I'm going to add something to Taylon Green real quick that I think we're not saying.
I did see you squinch when I said he's a pretty good quarterback.
Being mobile and being able to move around the pocket is great, and that is a fantastic quality to have in a quarterback. But his stats are god awful.
You know what?
He's got a 54.3% completion rate, 5 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. That game against Auburn, there were 6 total interceptions in that game for both sides.
Let me
Being
get the
mobile
stat line.
is great, and if you could throw it up, that's fine. But throw it to your own guys, not the other team.
This is a wish-washy stat line because as you look at this Auburn-Arkansas game, Taylon Green, 12 for 27, not great. 151 yards, not great. 1 touchdown, yeah, that's good. 2 interceptions, but then he goes 18 carries for 80 yards. So he's so in between that I don't think he's going to do well against Tennessee, knock on wood again, but by the same token, I think he's still someone we got to kind of prepare for, and it's someone you want to be careful about. But no, statistically, he's not a good quarterback.
Frankly, I'd throw him at running back if I were the Arkansas coach. I think he's better fit there than quarterback. But anyway, moving on to the skill players like you were talking about.
Yeah.
Jaquindon Jackson is that guy. He is a phenomenal running back for them. He's got 549 all-purpose yards this season and 9 touchdowns already. That's a pretty good stat line. Much better than his quarterbacks. No interceptions on that one either. Maybe have him throw the ball.
Yep.
But he's doing phenomenal. He's doing phenomenal this year, and that's the scary thing for me is I think he's going to be the guy that we need to watch out for. And their top 2 wide receivers are Andrew Armstrong and Isaiah Satanga, and they are both very good receivers. I don't know if they're the top tier of the SEC receivers, but they're a clear wide receiver 1 and 2 for this Arkansas team. But again, they're just not explosive. Like Arkansas as a whole is not an explosive offensive team, and they've been winning games because of their defense. That's what I've seen. Like the defense is what's won them these games. And so these skill players, yes, they're good, but it's not enough to continually let them win games. Like you're going to need more than just 3 guys to help carry your team. Like you look at Boise State, Ashton Genty. He's a fantastic running back, kind of putting the team on his back a little bit.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that from Jaquindon Jackson. I hate to say it, he's a great guy, but you're not going to get that from you. He's not going to put Arkansas on his back and win football games. The quarterback sure as heck isn't going to put the team on his back and win football games.
He's not as bad as I think you do. You're making him sound like he's me out there.
I mean, I'm just saying.
He is elusive. At least he can run the ball.
I'm just saying, I'm not impressed by this team at all whatsoever. So that's my take.
All right, fair enough. Now let's go to the trenches. Sophie, you looked at the offensive and defensive line. Tell us a little bit about each of them.
So basically, the offensive line, their sole purpose is Jaquindon Jackson. We're going to say his name a bunch because he is, in fact, Arkansas's best player.
I'll tell you that.
No. And so if they can make space for him, he's probably going to make a play. So far, they've allowed 1,060 rushing yards. So in some games, they are making space for him. But their biggest problem, they cannot protect their quarterback to save their life.
I got rushing yards.
No, they literally cannot do it. The Aggies sacked him 3 times. 2 of those resulted in fumbles. And bless, he's just running all over the place. He's gassed by the half because he can't stay in the pocket anyway. They're just going to have a fun time with our defense. But their D-line's looking pretty solid over the course of the season so far. They've got 272 tackles, 10 sacks, and Jalen Braxton and Hudson Clark are 2 linebackers that were missing in 2 games and are expected to return while playing Tennessee. So new players, going to help them out. We should look out for that. But their biggest issue on their D-line is Jackson Landon. He was all-SEC defensive team last year and pass rushes. So if there's going to be any problem, it's going to be him. But again, I don't think it's anything we have to be too worried about.
All right, we sound like coaches now. So Coach Lammer, I'm going to ask you about the secondary. Talk to us about Arkansas' secondary as a whole.
There's not a lot to talk about. Let's do that first. Look, people are saying, the Razorbacks are going to test our secondary. Well, I'm going to tell you what, we're going to test their secondary just as much, if not more. Okay, I'm going to tell you this. They're giving up the 2nd most passing yards in the SEC. You can look at different games played. It doesn't matter. It's a lot of yards. Okay, they're behind LSU by about 30. They're both up there, and they're giving up a crap ton of yards. I'll tell you that right now. Look, the pass defense in the SEC is 3rd to last behind Florida and LSU. What else is to write home about? I don't know. But beyond that, last year they lost Dwight McGlothern. That was their guy that led the team in interceptions in consecutive seasons. He's gone, so that's a hole that we can exploit. So basically, in summary of this, they're giving up a lot of yards. So if Nico's not going to run, let's throw the ball. Let's have him just absolutely beam it down there. Let's run up the scoreboard. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair because both of our defenses have some holes in the secondary. So it's going to be one of these things where we're going to see a lot of long balls and a lot of touchdowns.
All right, now let's go big picture. You want to talk about scores? Let's talk about scores. Sophie, I'll start with you. Give me your prediction, give me your score prediction specifically, and just kind of how you think this game's going to go down.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to take Tennessee. Shocking.
Yeah,
like,
I think
oh my God.
that we can all kind of bet on.
I can't believe it. Tennessee 31, Arkansas 17. Here's why. I'm going to give them that many points because they have scored 17 or higher on every team they've played so far, and it's an away game for us. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, be kind, but I think in no way is their O-line or their quarterback ready for our defense. That is going to be a huge problem for them in sacks, in interceptions, in fumbles, everything. They also haven't faced a quarterback like ours. I know we said probably their strongest unit right now is their defense, but they have not faced anyone like Nico right now. So I think we're going to run away with this one. It's going to be, maybe a blowout, but I think we're going to be able to produce a lot on our offense.
I'm going to have to agree with you there. I think that Arkansas is not the strongest team in the SEC, nor have they ever been in the last relevant year. That being said, like I said, I got Tennessee, but I think the score, give me a ceiling of 33 to, I think, going into the third quarter, it'll be like 33-3, and then they'll end up scoring like 2 trash time touchdowns like in Oklahoma. The realistic score, give me like 42-1.
To 1.
A
realistic score.
defensive, we're going to have, I forget how you get 1. I'm pretty sure you have to have a PAT safety. Yeah, so that's what's going to happen, just like Oregon, I think, almost did it forever ago. That's my prediction. Go Vols.
Yeah, when I was first looking at this game, my original score prediction was 35-17. Frankly, I think they're going to be lucky to score 17 points.
Yes.
I don't think this is going to be a close game. The Vols should take this one. I think it'll be not really a statement win, but I think if the Vols go in and do their job, they should take care of this one handedly and just kind of move on from the bye week and this week and kind of continue on with their season.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say it's a high-scoring affair, higher than I think most of you guys have said so far. Look, I think we're going to hang with them through the half. Second half, we're going to pull away. I'm going to say 42. Maybe they put up a touchdown in second half. 42-28 is my score.
I love it. Now, all of that was very great, but let's try and realistically come back. We're coming off a bye week. Team may be a little slow coming out, so go Vols, but fans, don't be nervous if, we're coming into the second half like up a touchdown, which, by the way, is still pretty good. Regardless, that wraps up this discussion of Tennessee, Arkansas, but when we come back, we're going to be taking a look at the SEC as a whole and how they did last week. Stick with us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rocky Talk. I'm your host, Zach Pelfrey, alongside Matthew, Jordan, and Lucas. Let's dive in. Now, September is over, which brings the end of the first month of college football, and wow, a lot has happened. There's a saying in college football that September is for pretenders and November is for contenders. And well, we are smack dab right in the middle of this college football season. Now, I want to open the panel up to you guys a little bit. I want you to tell me what teams are kind of on the rise, more in that contenders role, and what teams are downfall in the pretenders. Matt, I'll start with you.
Well, Luke Koss over here is a rookie, so I feel like we should introduce him. It's his first time on air. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome
Thank
to the
you.
show.
Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
but we should go forward by pronouncing his name with a K in it because he spells it with a K and not a C. It's Luke Koss. You talk about college football teams. We talked about it at the beginning of the year. We said that a big team that was coming up in the rankings that wasn't talked about enough, the 2 teams that come to mind, Miami and Tennessee, right? And they both have certainly made a name for themselves to start off. Miami and Tennessee both have Heisman-level players as of right now. Cam Ward's been outstanding, and so is Nico. I think both teams are starting to get the respect they deserve, certainly Tennessee. So Miami's right now on the list of teams that are rising. Last week was not a good example. They should have won by at least 3 scores last week. Virginia Tech is not above, at the level of Miami or any of the top 8 teams in the nation. But Miami's still top of college football. Watch out for Miami and Cam Ward. You talked about pretenders. There's a lot of pretenders in this league. Most of them are going to fall at the bottom of the top 12. There's one team that people are going to see creep up in the list, and that's Boise State. Boise State's a very good team, but we're going to get into the TCU form of things. Once we get into the postseason, they're going to make it in, but once we get there, they're going to fall off in round 1, and it's going to be a massive, massive just slaughter fest of Boise State.
And talk about Miami. I mean, Cam Ward's leading like every passing stat right now. He's been phenomenal.
Outstanding. And let him stay in Miami, because if Miami Dolphins, they don't do so well, they're going to draft him, let him stay in the 305.
All right, Lucas with a K.
Yeah.
What you got?
Of course. Well, first of all, I know Matt talked about Boise State, and I want to say I recently just fell into a loophole of highlight reels around Ashton Genty. I mean, that guy has been a monster this season. I mean, he's averaging 211 yards and 3 TDs a game. I mean, I know we're only, 4 games in this year, so there's a lot more for him to, kind of go off of for the rest of the season. But I think that is just an incredible stat line to have at this point in the season. Honestly, you said Miami, and they were bailed out last week against VT.
They were bailed out.
I won't say this now, but
Did you think the call was right?
oh no, absolutely
I
not. There
agree.
was not enough evidence to overturn that.
But the
whatsoever.
original call was not the right call.
Right. Yes. No.
Right.
I think that was a touchdown. I think that Hail Mary was a success. But you know what? We'll put that behind us. Honestly, I think the team that's going hot right now. Give me Penn State. I don't know. You know what? I'm a big Illinois fan. I'm from Illinois, unfortunately. And you know what? I got to say, we've had an electrifying offense this year. That is pretty rare to see coming out of Illinois. But to see that Penn State was able to shut them down and hold them to just 7 points in that entire game was incredible. So I would say that was probably the most electrifying thing I saw all week outside of that Bama-Georgia game. Of course.
We have a saying on this show, and I like to say it in every other show, if it looks like a duck and it smells like a duck and it acts like a duck, don't call it a pig.
Hey.
And if you're looking at teams like Notre Dame and you're looking at teams like Penn State who do the same thing every year,
Of course.
they look good and they fall off.
Oh,
they
right,
look good,
of course.
and suddenly a team like Illinois comes in and beats them and has the upset of the year.
Right.
You're going to see that at some point with
Right.
Penn State. You shouldn't look at it any different. You look in the NBA, it's the Philadelphia 76ers. In the MLB, it's probably the Dodgers, right? Maybe the Yankees. That's just how these teams work. If
Right.
it looks like a duck and it smells like a duck and it acts like a duck, don't call it a pig. And I think we're going to see the same thing with Notre Dame, like we saw Notre Dame, but certainly with Penn State.
Right.
Yeah, Penn State, the 10-2 Merchants, who always seem to fall to Michigan and Ohio State. Jordan, what you got for us?
So I did it kind of more of like a who's hot, who's not in college football right now. So who's hot is Indiana. They're off to a hot 5-0 start. Third time in program history. First time since like 1967, and only third time in program history. And think about their coach. Their coach was Kurt Signetti, and he was the old JMU coach for like 2019 and 2023. And he had the JMU Dukes run. Like last year, game day went to them for JMU and App State, and then he's definitely carried his success from JMU to Indiana. It's just nice to see their high-flying offense that they have, and I think it'll really bode well with the defensive-centered Big Ten, and that they can roll through all these teams, and their quarterback is doing great, and they've been scoring they scored 77 points one game, and then their closest win was 14 points against Maryland, who was 3-1 entering it. So I really think they're hot. I think there's no stopping them right now. They're just rolling. And the team that I said who's not hot right now is North Carolina.
Yep.
And they don't have Drake May anymore. And in my opinion, that's really who they were relying on, because their defense has been trash for years. And Drake May was just there to I don't know, sugarcoat it. But they're coming off 2 embarrassing losses. One to JMU, where they gave up 70. Keep in mind, JMU has a new coach now. It's Kurt Signetti's at Indiana. And they just lost 70-50. It's a bad football game when it looks like a basketball score. So, yeah. And then they lost to Duke 21-20. I get it, North Carolina Duke's not the basketball rivalry it is in football.
Yep.
But you don't want to lose to your rival, especially when you're up 20-7 entering the fourth quarter. And
I
you
got
just
a good
lose
one for you.
21-20.
How similar is FSU and UNC, right? Both had their star quarterbacks, Drake May, right? Gone. We see the team plummet. You look at FSU last year, undefeated, great quarterback. Lose their quarterback, the team starts 0-3, right? Horrible team this year. Again, it all comes down to relying on not only one player, but are 2 teams that happen to play in the ACC that are very comparable.
Yeah, I also think they're kind of different because DJ Uiagalelei had all these.
That was impressive. I can't do that.
He had all these expectations. Florida State had all these expectations right on them in the season, preseason top 10, but then they didn't meet any of it. But North Carolina had no expectations going into the season since they didn't have Drake May. So I see what you're saying, but also their expectations were different coming into the season.
Without a doubt. Can you say that name again?
Uiagalelei.
Can't do that.
All right.
Impressive. Can you do that?
I cannot. No, I
do
can't
that.
say his name. Hey, another team that did beat FSU, SMU, new to the ACC. Watch out for those Mustangs. Now, October also brings the beginning of the MLB playoffs. Wildcard week is actually ending tonight, and the divisional round starts on Saturday. So far this season, all eyes have been on the opposing teams on different coasts, with their superstars leading the way. The Yankees in Judge and the Dodgers with Ohtani both have the 1 seed. Now, to open back up to you guys, with the games that have been played so far, like, who looks hot? Jordan?
Okay, I'm going to have to go with the Detroit Tigers. They might be the best story in baseball right now.
Yeah.
Like, they won their first playoff game in 11 years. And not only did they just win it, they beat the Astros. And, you know, like, the Astros have been the most recent baseball controversy. They won the World Series back a couple of years ago. And, like, they've been one of the, the best and the most consistent team in baseball recently. And they just knocked them out. And, like, keep in mind, August 10th, the Tigers are 55-63, and now they're on to the division series in baseball. So I just think that's a really great story for them.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned the Tigers, and the thing with baseball you can always count on is the number 1 team never wins. Number 1 team never wins, 99% of the time. That's why you look at the Dodgers, you look at the Yankees, those teams never win. While those are 2 really talented teams, you got to watch out for a team like the Tigers. Here's why the Tigers are good, because they're a wild card team. Look at 2015, Giants, Royals, Giants win the World Series. Both teams wild card teams. 2016, Royals, Mets, both team wild card series. Royals win the World Series. Okay? You're going to see the same thing again this year. Tigers, very good baseball team. Look at last year. Arizona Diamondbacks made it all the way to the World Series, and they were a wild card team. That's just how baseball works. The hottest team wins. It's a game of runs.
And now they have the whole city behind them. They have all this momentum going with them. Like, they just have so much excitement winning their first playoff series in 11 years. So, like you said, watch out for the Tigers.
Well, another fun team to watch, Matt, you said it a couple weeks ago, the Padres knocking off the Braves. Tell me about that.
Maybe the most fun team to watch in baseball. I mean, it's just fun to watch a star-studded lineup. Look, you can talk about the Yankees all you want, but the Yankees are inconsistent. The Padres have everything you want on offense, and they have defense. They got a great starting 4, right, and Arise leading the top, and on defense they have everything you want with Manny Machado at third. They have everything you would want out of an offensive and defensive team. Here's why they're good. They're not number 1.
Not number one.
And they're not at the bottom. They're somewhere in the middle of the MLB postseason, and they have a really good opportunity to beat anybody. Look, Atlanta's a good team. Atlanta's a good baseball team. They had the best team in baseball all time last year, right? They didn't lose a lot. Atlanta is a very good team, and the Padres knocked them off like we expected they would. The Padres are also hot. With their hitting and their fan base, the Padres are a very, very good team in the NL, along with, look, you can't look them, even though they're number 1 seed, the LA Dodgers, just because not only are they hot, but they have the best player maybe all time.
You said the Dodgers were the number 1 seed?
Right.
But I thought you said Dodgers or number 1 seeds.
Number 1 seed never wins, but you never look off the team that is the best player in the country, the best player maybe all time.
Haven't the Dodgers been
can't look
really
that up.
inconsistent though? Like they don't make it
That's
far?
Dodger baseball. That's Yankee baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, you can point to a bunch of different teams that's just their forte. But with the Dodgers and how good they are, not only on the pitching side of things, they made a big move at the deadline, but their offense is outstanding. The Dodgers are a 1 seed that can win it this year, just like I thought the Braves were last year. I think the Yankees are still in that same boat of inconsistency, but if there's a team between the Yankees and the Dodgers that have it and have a better chance to win, it's certainly the Dodgers.
As a Yankees fan myself, I couldn't agree more. We are the most number 1 team of all time.
I would love to see Stanton and Jazz win.
I would love, Judge, talk about one of the best players. He's got to be up there with his home run stats, but it's the Yankees we're talking about. They'll eventually fall. Lucas, round us out.
I did read a stat recently that this is the first time in over a decade that there is no 100-win team.
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know what, we like the number 1 seeds, but at this time, I don't even know if we can have as much confidence as we usually have in a number 1 seed. And for me, I love a great underdog story. As you said, number 1 seed, it's very rare that they're the ones that take it all. And I'm riding high on the Padres too. I think after watching them this past weekend, their hitting was incredible. I saw one of the best starts I saw in King, that first game against the Braves. It was great. And so I would say ride them, but I'm a Midwest boy. You know what? I hate the Brewers. I've always hated the Brewers. But I will say, I think I like them a little more than the Mets. So I really want tonight's game to go really well for them. I know they don't have Yelich, and that's
they don't have Yelich. That's their best player.
It's a big blow. It is their best player. But you know what? Like I said, I love a great underdog story.
Are you taking Mets?
They can take that.
You're taking Brewers.
Well, we know Matthew doesn't like the Brewers.
Are you taking the games tonight? Are you taking Mets or are you taking Brewers?
Let's go Mets.
I'm taking the Mets.
I'll be out.
The NL East, it's like looking at the SEC. Look, the NL East is a perfect way of looking at baseball this season. You said there's no 100-win teams.
Right.
The NL East is the most competitive division in all of baseball. You had the Marlins who made the postseason last year. They're out. And, of course, the Nationals aren't good. But between the Phillies and you have the Mets and then you have the Braves, 3 teams that made the postseason, that's the best conference. That's the best division by far. And because of it, you saw not only 100-win teams, none of them, but you're going to see a Mets team that's more competitive than any other team in the league because they play in the toughest division.
They're
that's
hungry
why
for
they're going
sure.
to beat the Brewers.
They're hungry. Yeah.
All right, well, that wraps up Rocky Talk. Thank you all for watching, and we...
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Summit. I'm your host, Alexi Cowan, today, and as you can see, we got a little more testosterone than we usually do on the Summit. We've got some new faces. We've got Mr. Nick Rose over here, and then you know him, you love him, Jay King. And then we've got none other than Jack Glennon. Guys, happy to have you all on the team. So first off, you know, we hit on women's sports every week. So I want to start off with the soccer team. So you all know that Vandy, let's see, was it Sunday? Sunday at home, tied with them. And that really stuck out to me because we've had 3 ties so far this season. We're 6-1 and 3. So what do you all think is keeping us kind of at a stopping point with these ties, and how do you think we can kind of get past that barrier?
Well, I think positively speaking, goalie Ali Zazzara has been lights out all season. All those ties would have been losses if she wasn't in the net.
For sure.
And one of the things that we need to focus on is more aggression, more goal scoring, because she hasn't given up that many goals. I think most she's given up all season is 2. We just need to keep on scoring more, be more aggressive. The next game tomorrow night versus Missouri is the perfect game to do that. Missouri is not the best team in the country. They are 3-6-2 with their out-of-conference schedule. I think tomorrow night is the perfect game to get that scoring up and potentially get that win that we need.
I think Jay kind of hit the nail right on the head. We need to start being more aggressive on the offensive side when we have the ball. You look at all the stats from the previous games, especially the ties, all of our opponents have had double-digit shots, and the Vols have had double-digit shots in only one of those games. And so you go look at it, and they only start taking shots once we go down. Like in the Alabama game, there was several runs where the Vols only started to score or start shooting once we went down. And so, like Jay said, it was just be more aggressive, trust. The goalkeeper has been phenomenal. We're top 25 in save percentage. And so you just got to have trust in her and just continue to be aggressive on when you have the ball on attack.
Yeah, to go off of what Jay said also, the goalie play is phenomenal. We're only giving up 0.5 goals per game. But the top teams in the nation, Arkansas, Florida State, Arkansas is taking 24 shots per game, Florida State 25, and we're at 11.8. So less shots mean less goals. We need to be more aggressive, shoot the ball more, and trust in our players because the goalie play and the defense has been phenomenal. We just have to capitalize off of that.
For sure. Do want to give a shout out to Ali Zazzara. She had her 100th career save this past week in Vanderbilt, so really happy for her. But they go to host Mizzou tomorrow, so everybody tune in and watch that. Now, I do want to head over to volleyball. Volleyball's been struggling a little bit. They also went to Norman on Sunday like the football team, but it didn't go exactly the same as the football team. They lost 1-3 match. It just really was not a great performance, so I'm just kind of disappointed. What do you guys think?
Well, for me, it's not really a road issue. It's an error issue. If you look at the reception errors alone, 61 in 12 games this year, as opposed to 87 in 31 games last season. 9 in the Oklahoma game by itself. That's the most we've had in the game since 2022. 7 also against Wolford. And also, I think the team's still struggling after losing Morgan Fingal. It's never easy to replace the first-team All-American. So there's a lot of things this team needs to work on, cleaning up the errors and just being able to replace our former first-team All-American.
I'm not going to lie. I do think it is kind of a home and away issue because you look at home, our only loss at home was to number 3 Penn State. Penn State's a great team, but on the road, we were dropping games to Oklahoma, Wofford, and Louisville, I think it was. I just feel like we need to be better on the road because you can't just have the excuse, we're playing a bunch of road games. We're only losing on the road. That's just a part of the game. You got to keep on getting wins on the road. That needs to improve. like almost
Yeah.
instantly. You can't
I
have
feel
the
like it is
home
an
crowd.
away game curse. It kind of feels like, and I really hope that we can fix that back. You know, we're going to Ole Miss and Mississippi State next week, so that's 2 away games. I'm nervous, but I do want to head over to WNBA before we go. We've got some really good games coming up in the playoff season, but one big issue is the viewers. The Connecticut Sun defeated the Indiana Fever, which now means Caitlin Clark is off our screens. And so the views went from 2.5 million in Caitlin Clark's game to only 929,000. That's a big drop. Still great for WNBA, but a big drop. What do you think is the reason here? Do you think Caitlin Clark's going to have this effect throughout her whole career?
I think so. I watched a very interesting video on the subject the other day, just for fun, and it was talking about how the NBA had the same kind of problem in the 70s. There was a lack of star power. There were several great players, but they just lacked viewership. And then up came Magic and Larry Bird, and they brought all the fans back. I think that's kind of the effect we're seeing with Caitlin Clark. Sure. It's the pandemic really hurt the league. It lost a ton of viewership, but then you have a rising star like Caitlin, and all of the viewership comes back, and it's going to flock on her. It's going to be the main point of her entire career. She's going to be the center of attention. She's going to be, I don't really want to put this on her, but the LeBron James of the WNBA for now.
Oh.
But she's going to have the spotlight on her wherever she goes. And it's because she is an entertaining player to watch. She is phenomenal. She is incredible on offense. She's in that video, they stated that she had the most effective offensive season in WNBA history, and she's a rookie. Yeah. So she still has room to grow, and it's just going to be awesome to watch her. But the rest of the league is not bad to watch either. I mean, A'ja Wilson just had a phenomenal MVP season with the Aces, and there's a bunch of other players to watch, but the main focus is always going to be on Caitlin Clark as long as she's in the league.
For sure. Now, guys, we have the Las Vegas Aces and the New York Liberty one side. Then we got the Sun and the Lynx on the other side. Who are your guys' top 2? Who's going to get knocked out?
I think the Las Vegas Aces are going to move on. They won back-to-back, I think, and I think A'ja Wilson is on top of her game right now. I think they are going to win, and then...
Now, Aces are actually 0-2.
Wow.
Right now.
They might make a comeback, you never doubt A'ja Wilson. And then the other game, I would say the Connecticut Sun. It was the Connecticut Sun, right? Yep, I got them winning. They already beat the Fever with Caitlin Clark. I think it's obvious the Sun might go all the way to the finals.
For me, I'm going to do the exact opposite, Jay. For me, I'm going to pick the Liberty because, yes, the Aces have A'ja Wilson. She's phenomenal. She's incredible. But I think that duo of Sabrina Ionescu and the former MVP, Breanna Stewart, is too much for the Aces to handle. The Liberty with 32-8, the best team in the league all season. I feel confident picking them. And then for the Lynx, yes, Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner, they're dangerous for the Sun. But the Lynx are a well-rounded team. 6 players in Game 2 scored 7 points or more. And to me, a well-rounded team always beats a top-heavy team. And that's gonna be the case here as far as I'm concerned.
Got it. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching this summit. So happy to have some new faces here on Rocky Top here, so we're really excited. We'll tune in next week.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Orange Zone. I'm Jackson Shock. That's Sophie. Those are the 2 Lukes. Now we're going to introduce a new segment called The Great, The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly. Now, how this is going to work is I've randomly handed out each of the assignments, one each, so we got 1 good, 1 great, 1 bad, 1 ugly. And we're going to kind of work our way through what each one looks like, and it's going to be all from SEC football this week. We're going to keep it kind of maybe more broad going forward. We'll play with it a tad. So, with that being said, we've got our beautiful graphic here.
That is so beautiful.
That did a great job.
Very nice,
So,
Jackson.
Without any further ado, Luke, talk us through. You got great. Who you got and why?
I have Ryan Williams for Alabama. This kid is a phenom in the college football scene right now. He's 17 years old, should be going to his senior year homecoming right now, but he reclassed a year up so he could play football for Alabama. You don't really see that in college football, but this kid is legit. His yards after the catch is ridiculous. He averages 28.9 yards a catch. That is a ridiculous stat line in his first year when he shouldn't even be in college yet. And this kid is going to be someone where going in the following years, teams are going to have to watch out for this guy. He's going to be one to watch for the SEC for the next 2 or 3 years.
I like it. All right, let's move on. Good. Sophie, you want to take it away?
So this week for good, I have Kentucky's tight end Josh Cadis. He landed on a fumble in the end zone to score the winning touchdown of that game. And so we love a good rivalry between those two. And of course, as a Vol fan, Lane Kiffin failing.
Yeah, there we go.
Love to see it every time, but upset. We got to watch out for Kentucky this year. The reason I said it was good is because it was kind of luck. It was basically luck, but
It landed right.
it did. He was just like, oh, let me
right
go
there.
down immediately. But won the game. Totally counts. That's my good of this week.
Yeah, I think an honorable ugly would be the the field goal attempt by Ole Miss. Shanked it left and looked like a Pat. I almost said Pat Summit. A Pat McAfee kick. All right, moving on. I had the honor of having bad, and my bad is going to go to the god-awful Auburn Tigers. I feel bad for them, but more specifically, I want to talk about the cheerleader that was doing his nice little backflips straight into the head of an Arkansas player. I mean, take a look. I mean, you run, you go, and then bam, just gets rocked.
Yeah.
Not the most. I think that's a good kind of euphemism or a good way to kind of explore what it's like to be on the Auburn football team. Maybe if you were the Oklahoma player getting kicked in the face. So. Not the best. I think Aubie there kind of gives a good representation of how the season's going, and I'm sorry to all the Auburn fans, which I guess we really acknowledge a lot on this show now. Let's move on. Ugly. Luke, you had the honor of doing Ugly this week. Who you got and why?
Well, I chose it because of the circumstances. It's an ugly situation, but a funny story. So there were two fans in Atlanta, Georgia, and Hurricane Helene came through, flooded one of the friends. They're both friends. One of the friends, his house in the neighborhood was completely underwater due to the hurricane that came through. They had plans to go see Georgia-Bama in Tuscaloosa. The buddy that got the raft, he said, we're not missing this trip. So he goes and buys a raft. He goes and travels through the neighborhood, gets his friend out of his house, and they make it to Tuscaloosa for Bama, Georgia. It's fantastic. Ugly scenario, but funny story.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's the commitment we want.
It means more in the SEC.
It does.
It means more in the
Just means
SEC.
more.
That is definitely proof that it means more. Well, that wraps up this edition of the Orange Zone. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great fall break. If you're traveling, stay safe. If you're going to Arkansas, go Vols. And we'll see you right back here next week. Peace.